Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today our project is a very dirty Penn Monofil 25, and this one looks like, well, it's been sitting in some dusty place, maybe storage or the like. It just squeaks and kind of has all kinds of noises going on with it. And we're going to take this reel apart. We'll show you how to service it and how to get it back running the way it was designed to run. Interestingly enough, this one has a metal collared thumb brake on it that rides on that back cross post. This was used to control the line on casting. That's an old reel feature. I don't believe it came on this reel, but it's been installed on this reel. And well, it can still be used and kind of with good results too. But I don't know where this reel has been. You can see there's a load of dirt on that. And well, part of reel service is cleaning it up and making sure that it performs the way it should. Well, I'm going to start by asking you to subscribe to my channel if you like these types of videos. And if you do, that subscription will help, but notification button will help even more. It'll show you when I'm posting videos, and you can decide whether that's a reel that you want to watch. You're essentially looking over my shoulder as I work on reels in my shop. And well, I work on all kinds of reels, so if you like saltwater reels, this is your day. And if you like freshwater reels, well, tomorrow might be your day. Well, I'm going to start by giving this reel an exterior cleaning. I'm going to use Flitz Metal Pre-Clean. It's just a spray bottle, and that should dissolve almost all of the dirt. And well, in this case, take some of that film and old accumulated greases and the like off this reel. So we'll shut the camera off. I'll go spray this. It's a very simple product to use. You spray it on, you rinse it off. It doesn't take much time. And as you can see, it dissolves all kinds of things: calcium, rust, lime, corrosion, and so on. And in this case, we're just looking for a good help of getting started with limited effort and getting that dirt off. So we'll be right back. Well, that only took a minute or two. As I said, it's a spray on, wipe off, and it didn't polish the reel up. It's not expected to do that, but it got the first level of dirt and debris off of there, and so we can continue, and we'll clean that up as we do that. So a lot of folks that know the Penn reel lineup know that the Monofil is pretty much the Penn 155 Beachmaster, the Monofil 25. They also had 26 and 27, and those also were very similar to the Beachmasters 160 and the like. And well, the idea with the Monofil is, well, as the name would suggest, monofilament and the line. Now, some of the earlier reels that Penn made pre-monofilament, in other words, the braided era, the early braided era, if you will, those were having problems with the spools because the pressure that the monofilament put on the spools would tend to warp them. So they decided they would come out with a design. The design is the Monofil with a stronger spool to kind of help avoid that coming down. All right, well, I've just used a little bit of 4/0 steel wool, and well, that made quite a bit of a difference here in terms of getting the pieces back the way they should be going. We have a little issue with the handle. I'm just going to put it in the vise and kind of press it back. It was bent inward, but we'll continue then. So we took the handle off by removing the handle screw. We took the star adjuster off. Now we're taking off the little gear spacer. And when I take those pieces and parts off, they go into a parts tray. I use a fast food container, and would recommend that you have a system for addressing the parts. It doesn't really matter what your system is, but it does matter that you know what you're going to be doing with them before you start taking them off. Well, one of the things I noticed as I was just kind of inspecting the reel is the screws on the reel seat here are the wrong screws. As you can see, they are coming through the reel seat. They shouldn't. There should be a smaller screw right there that belongs in those spots, and whoever had the reel apart the last time wasn't paying much attention. They kind of thought all screws were equal, put them in different places. We'll correct that as we service this reel. But the shorter ones, there's going to be 4 long and 2 short. The 2 short ones belong in the reel seat itself. Why? Well, if you leave the long ones in there, there is a chance that the line is going to catch on the protruding screw, and it'll snap off something during a cast. So just try and do it the right way and save yourself the issue. Interestingly enough, there's only 1 short screw on this side, so I'm going to assume the other short screw is somewhere on the other side. As you can see from the side plate, it's very much the 155 side plate. Let's remove the spool. Now I'm going to do the same thing. As I mentioned, I like to do a cleaning when I'm doing the reel service. There's no sense going through all of the pieces and parts and issues that you have, trying to clean everything up and not address the cosmetics of the reel if you can. So I'm just using 4-0 steel wool. It's probably not even necessary at this point. 4-0 steel wool is a buffing steel wool. It's not a very abrasive one, but do be careful when you're using it. You don't want to scar up or scrape or anything if you don't need to. Alright, well, that'll take care of the posts, a little bit up top here. No matter what you're doing on cleaning, you can't fix pitting, you can't fix chrome loss, but you can take care to prevent it in the future, and the best way to do that is with a simple cleaning like we're going over here. And this one shines up nicely. It's quite a difference from the barn find or whatever the reason was that this reel was so dirty when it was received. Alright, well, let's credit the Penn and their finishes there. Alright, all you want to do from a service standpoint on this side is to put a little bit of grease into that side plate bearing there. This one's way out of adjustment, but we'll just leave that for now. Most of that dirt and the like on this spool came off just with that spray of Flitz, but we're going to just use that same polish here. I'm using an automotive chrome polish along with this steel wool just to remove the older greases and the like. Again, this is a polishing steel wool, so don't go in with anything like a coarse steel wool. You could scrape up. You won't do it with this. If you like, if you're a little bit concerned about the steel wool, go use a kitchen scrubby. They're just at 1 grade under the abrasiveness of this one, and that'll help as well. But sometimes, like you saw, we probably have 20-year-old grease that's coagulated there, and that's not an easy thing to get off. I'll just put a little bit more on the core shaft here, using a paper towel to wipe it off, and we'll put that in the porch tray as well. Alright, before we get into the interior, there's one more section here that's got a little bit of the old crusty grease on there. Let's get that off. And you can see how nicely it's shining up, but again, you can't fix pitting. Well, while we're doing this, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, and maybe you're working on one and you're a little stuck, just leave those questions in the comment section. I do try to answer those over the course of the following day, so maybe I can get you unstuck. If we're going to take out the side plate screws that hold the bridge in now, you'll notice I cup my hand behind the side plate. There is a spring and a dog in here, and when you go to remove that bridge, they will shoot, or they will wind up where you're not expecting them to be if you are not paying attention when you remove it. So what I like to do is cup my hand and then press down on the bridge. That will release the tension on that spring, and that spring should just be laying on the assembly, and that's what it's doing here. This model has a flat spring in it. A flat spring normally means that the reel was made before 1957, when Penn changed over to a coil spring for that anti-reverse stall. There's 2 different types of bridge screws. There's a fully threaded screw and a partially threaded screw. The fully threaded screws go below. The partially threaded screws go through the springs in the yoke. Where are they? Well, they're under the yoke here. We're going to push down on the yoke to remove the jack. That's this piece. The reel is very clean inside. It doesn't appear to be used much. Here's your two springs. I want to take those off and get them into my parts tray right away. They have a tendency of bouncing around and disappearing. And again, very clean. You don't even see the old residual greases here very much. I'll just do a light cleaning on that. If your pinion gear was loaded with old grease, you would go ahead and clean that up. This one's not. This one has no grease. Maybe that's half of the problem with this reel. And I'm just checking the teeth orientation on this one to make sure that they're all nice and crisp, that they're not bent or deformed in any way that would cause a performance issue. I've greased the teeth. Now I'll grease the yoke. I got a little bit on my bench board, and that is ready for a reassembly there. I'm going to spray the inside of this reel with some penetrating oil as a cleaner. I use just about anybody's penetrating oil. Some videos you probably see me use WD-40, others it'll be a house brand like this Ace Hardware brand I'm using at the moment, or Liquid Wrench, or any of those. I use them basically as degreasers. I don't use them as lubricants. But it seems like whatever shop I'm in, when it's time to go get a replacement can of penetrating oil, that's kind of the brand I'll buy. I want to do the same thing here. Get grease into that bearing and a little grease onto that eccentric. All right, we want to check our drag washers. In all likelihood, these are going to be just as dirty as the rest of the reel was. These may be brittle and need to be replaced. We'll see. These are from a time when you had leather washers, and those leather washers dried out or cracked. And we also want to remove our gear sleeve so that we can get the dirt off of the gear post. To remove the gear sleeve, I'm using an awl where I can push the pin that holds the gear sleeve to the main stud or bridge post. And then I'm going to pull it out the rest of the way with a pair of pliers. That'll enable me to remove the sleeve, and of course you see some dirt and debris underneath there that if we didn't remove that sleeve we wouldn't be able to get to. And all dirt and debris is going to compromise the performance of the reel. The only question really is how much is it going to degrade it. And while I've seen it to the point where a reel can't turn because it's got old dried grease in there. We just put some new grease on, just a light coating. We'll go right back on with that bridge sleeve, gear sleeve. Get that started to put that back in. Use a dead blow hammer here to tap that in. And you want to make sure that the head of that pin clears that ridge, otherwise you won't be able to put your gear back on. I'm going to put the bottom washer on. It's a hard washer. Looks like we have to push out the remaining drag washers. Do the same thing here. Check the main gear, make sure that all of the teeth are in good condition. These are. Again, I'll show you the technique. I don't need to use it on this, but use a hard bristle brush to pull through the teeth to clear it of the old dried greases, if dried greases are present. I'm going to take a moment here. We're going to use fishing reel grease here. I use Penn Precision reel grease. Not because this is a Penn reel, but because it's fishing reel grease. I guess it doesn't hurt that it's a Penn reel, but you don't need to use Penn grease on Penn reels and Shimano grease on Shimano reels, etc. Just make sure you use fishing reel grease. With the gear greased, looks like I missed a little spot here. With that gear greased, we can put that aside. I'm going to check these drag washers, make sure that they're flexible. In this case, they have the flex. All they need is kind of a little bit of a cleaning. And we have a 6 drag washer set here. So it's going to start with a fabric washer, then one of the 2 round washers without the points. They're called keyed washers. The washer with the points, or eared washer, goes in the middle. Last of the keyed washer, and then a cap washer. That's how they install. To keep those drag washers fresh, you want to put some grease on it. I'm going to put Cal's Universal Drag Grease on it. If you don't have it, don't run out and buy it. You can use your fishing reel grease. First fabric washer goes on. As long as these are clean, you can put the next one right on top of it. We'll do that again. Doesn't matter what sequence the fabric washers go on. The middle washer is an eared washer. You're going to find 2 slots in the main gear, and that's going to seat in those slots. If it's not pressed down or below the rim of that gear, it's not installed correctly, and your drags won't work. Third washer goes on. Second of the keyed washers, the ones with the rectangular center, go on, and your cap washer goes on. And that essentially is your bridge service for the reel. So what have we done so far? We've basically taken the reel apart completely. We've lubricated the back bearing. Took all the pieces of the yoke assembly and the bridge assembly apart. We made sure that they were clean, and we re-lubricated them as we did the side plate bearing here. So now it's time to reinstall. And again, this reel is almost identical to the Penn 155, but a lot of times folks will go on YouTube, they search for their model of a reel. They don't understand that these reels are essentially the same, and that these can be applied, these videos can be applied to more than that. So that's why I chose to put the monospool here as a monofil. The monospool is a Lawrence reel, just as a way to show you and get you educated in that. Center the yoke over the 2 springs, press down, take that jack, hook it on, and that's how you install the top end. Go to your parts tray and find the screw that's fully threaded. Put that through the bottom hole on the right hand side, right there. And then bring your bridge assembly in and rotate that plate so that it covers the pinion gear, just like that. Now it's time to install the dog. The dog goes with the flat side up, and then that dog spring, which is a metal spring, flat metal spring. Part of it rests on the top of the dog right here. There's a post, and the other tag is going to go behind the post. And I never seem to get this right for videos. I don't know why. It just takes me a little while to do it. I actually did a little bit better this time. But you can see how the spring is on top of the dog, goes around the post and rests in the side plate. This one just needs to be pulled down a little bit. Be careful, it is a spring. I just wanted to pull that down a little bit so that it got inside that little nook there. Once that's done, rotate this so that the screw lines up with that hole in the bridge. And give this a turn or 2. Don't tighten it down completely. You need a little bit of play or wiggle room to get the other screws in. And then you can go back and finish the tightening. Take one of the springs, one of the screws that is partially threaded, that's going to go through the springs, and go to the opposite corner for that one. That's going to keep balance on this. It's going to help to align the other holes. And again, just a partial tightening. Come on back to the other side, do the same thing with that other partially threaded screw that goes through the springs. And then the last fully threaded screw can go on the bottom on the other side. If you're having trouble, if it's not grabbing, turn the reel over, take a look and see what's going on. And then we can tighten them all. And before I do anything more, I'm going to take a rod and reel cleaner. You notice how dirty this was. I'm going to spray a little bit onto the side plate, and I'm going to use a kitchen scrubby here to see if that can't help get some more of that old dirt off of there. dirt on the outside is not going to affect performance, but you know what? You pretty much want a nice looking wheel. So take the time while you're doing it to do the rest of this. It's better to do it now than when you have that handle on and everything. While I have that ready, let's go ahead and do the other side. Now this side has sun damage on it, UV damage, and you can't fix UV damage with a cleaner, but you can at least restore some of the luster for a little while if you use this rod and wheel cleaner. Eventually it'll just wear off and it'll go back to looking the way it was, but for now at least we know that the dirt is off of it. And there was quite a pile of dirt on this reel when we started. So this one is circa 1957-ish. Like I said, we know that the coil spring came on in 1957, so I'm going to guess that it was before then. This one makes sense because, well, you have that leather thumb pad, and that was an old-timers kind of a thing. So somebody probably had a different reel, decided to upgrade to this, brought their thumb brake over from the other one, and put it on this one. All right, a little bit of grease onto both posts on your spool. The short post is the one that goes to the inside. And then we can bring our side plate assembly with the gear on it to this side. And align the holes, and we're going to do the same thing here that we did with the other one. We're going to kind of alternate how we put these in to keep equal tension. Well, as I mentioned, I only found one of those short screws. I'm going to guess that the other short screw is in the other side of this reel. And I'm not going to search for it on this video, but I will search for it to make sure that I can put that short screw into the right position. All right, I put one on each side, 180 degrees apart. I'm going to take that short screw now that belongs in the base, put that one in. And I noticed that this top bar with that bracket is a little loose, so it's actually, that's probably where that short screw is. I'll tighten that one, we'll come back and tighten this side. And I guess I was wrong. This one is the short screw for this side. Okay. Put that in. We have one more screw to tighten up the side plate. And then we'll put the balance of the exterior parts on and give it a test. So we have the gear sleeve is next. Spacer, I guess, not sleeve, spacer. One of these days, I've only been doing this for over 25 years. One of these days I'll get the names right. I always want to call screws springs and springs screws for some reason. Now if you didn't take the time to take the gear sleeve off, you could put oil in there. That's what it says on top of the screw that holds to that. In this case, you don't need to do that. Well, I still have a little bit of a bow, so I'm going to go to a bigger vise. I'm going to turn this off. We'll be right back. Okay, that vise just straightened that line out nicely, and now we can reinstall that on the reel. These have all been cleaned again. And now we can put that handle screw in. Start that by hand. Tighten down on your star adjuster so that you don't trap it when you tighten the screw. Or get your wrench. Now this is an aftermarket wrench for the Penn wheel, but if you have this wrench, it's fine. It's just if you work on a lot of Penn reels, this has got a longer handle and a thicker handle. This one is an Allen Tanny wrench, and I believe I got this one through mysticparts.com. And it's just, if you work on a lot of these, you appreciate the leverage and the ease with which they take those handle screws out. All right, that's the last of it. Let's see how we do. This is about right from a adjustment standpoint. When you adjust the spool, you should have a very light but noticeable side-to-side movement. This one might even be able to tighten up just a little bit. There should be a slight knock to it. That's properly adjusted. Don't over-tighten it. We are in free spool. We should be able to spin the spool now. We can. If you want to loosen it up a little bit, it will spin easier. There you go. Let's put it into gear, and we'll check the performance of the reel. It's doing very nicely, and well, it looks a lot cleaner. It's ready to go. The drags are holding nice and tight. When you're done with your test of your reel, back the star adjuster off. That will save compressing the drags, and it will save you wear and tear on that reel. All right, so there you go. But I'm going to put it back on. As we end this, I want to thank our first responders and essential personnel for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. Police, fire, emergency, first aid responders, thank you. So everybody, keep your reels ready to go fishing because it's fishing season. Make sure that they're properly maintained. Don't let them get to the point like this reel where there was a lot of dirt and debris and everything hanging it up. Just take your time to flush it with fresh water after your trips. That will keep it fishing for a long time to come. So to everybody, I wish you well. Have a great day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.